artillery units of the Zapad group of forces carried out a strike mission employing Tornado-S multiple launch rocket systems in an effort to disrupt Ukrainian logistical movement across a river crossing. Reconnaissance assets identified the crossing point as an active route used for the transfer of reserves, equipment, and ammunition to forward positions. After receiving confirmed targeting data, the Tornado-S crews launched a volley of guided rockets toward the designated coordinates. The strike effectively blocked the crossing, preventing Ukrainian forces from rapidly reinforcing units on the opposite bank and complicating the movement of military equipment and supplies in that sector. Operators of Goran strike drones from the Unmanned Systems Forces carried out an attack on a Ukrainian Armed Forces Mi-8 helicopter positioned on a helipad in the settlement of Mikhailovka. The aircraft was reportedly identified during aerial surveillance as it remained on the ground at the landing site. After confirming the target, the drone operators launched a precision strike against the helicopter. The attack hit the aircraft directly on the helipad, damaging the Mi-8 and disrupting Ukrainian aviation activity at the location. Next footage, artillery crews operating Hyacinth B towed guns carried out a strike mission against Ukrainian armed forces positions located on the right bank of the Dnieper River in the Kherson region. The enemy's fortified shelters and field positions were identified during reconnaissance operations, allowing artillery teams to prepare a targeted engagement. After receiving the confirmed coordinates, the Hyacinth B battery opened fire on the designated positions. The precise artillery strike struck the enemy's defensive shelters, reportedly reducing them to ruins and disrupting Ukrainian activity along that section of the riverbank. Objective control footage shows Goran strike drones arriving at the gas processing plant located in the settlement of Hubinica in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The facility was targeted during a drone strike, with multiple impacts recorded at the site as the UAVs reached their designated coordinates. The plant had previously been destroyed in 2022, but was reportedly restored and returned to operation afterward. The recent strike once again inflicted damage on the facility, indicating a renewed effort to disrupt infrastructure activity in the area. Rocket artillery units operating Grad multiple launch rocket systems carried out a strike mission against a Ukrainian Armed Forces defensive center in the Zaporozhye region. The position had reportedly been identified during reconnaissance activities as a key point supporting Ukrainian defensive operations in the area. Following the confirmation of target coordinates, the Grad crews launched a volley of rockets toward the site. The strike destroyed the defensive center, disrupting Ukrainian positions and reducing their ability to coordinate and sustain defensive activity in that sector. Air Defense servicemen of the 169th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade, operating as part of the Zapad group of forces, intercepted an incoming Ukrainian attack drone in the Krasny-Lyman direction. The UAV was detected in time by air surveillance assets while it was approaching Russian positions, indicating an attempted strike against frontline units. After confirming the aerial target, the air defense team engaged the drone and successfully shot it down before it could reach its intended objective. The interception prevented a potential strike on Russian forces and ensured the continued protection of units operating in that sector of the front line. An operator controlling a fiber-optic guided drone known as Knyaz Vandal carried out a strike against a loaded Grad multiple rocket launcher operated by the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The artillery system was reportedly identified on a firing position during reconnaissance, where it had been prepared for rocket launches. Guided directly to the target through a fiber-optic control link, the drone struck the Grad launcher while it was still loaded with rockets. The precise hit disabled the system on its position, preventing the launcher from carrying out planned fire missions in the sector. A 155mm Krab self-propelled howitzer of the Ukrainian Armed Forces was targeted in the area of responsibility of the West grouping of forces. The artillery system was reportedly detected during reconnaissance operations while positioned on a firing site supporting Ukrainian units in the sector. FPV drone operators were then directed to engage the identified target. The drones carried out a precise strike on the position, destroying the Krab's self-propelled gun and halting its ability to conduct further artillery fire missions in the area. A forward deployment point of the 154th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces was targeted in the area of Huliai-Polska in the Zaporizhzhia region. Reconnaissance assets reportedly identified the position as a staging site used by Ukrainian units to support frontline activity in the sector. With the location established, a strike was carried out using Fab 3000 aerial bombs. The powerful detonation destroyed the forward deployment point, damaging the brigade's operational presence and disrupting troops' concentration in the area. UAV operators of the Southern Grouping carried out a precision strike against a 122mm self-propelled Howitzer 2S1 Gvozdika operated by the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The artillery system was detected on a firing position during aerial reconnaissance, where it had been supporting Ukrainian fire missions in the sector. Once the target was clearly identified, the drone operators launched a precise attack on the position. The strike hit the self-propelled gun directly, destroying the 2S1 Gvozdika and setting it on fire. A strike carried out by a Geran unmanned aerial vehicle targeted the Ulivsky gas processing plant in the area of Staryai Merchik in the Kharkov region. The facility, located near a key settlement in the sector, was reportedly struck during a drone attack conducted against infrastructure in the area. The Geran drone impacted the site, causing damage to the gas processing facility. The strike triggered a visible explosion and fire at the location. Russian strike assets carried out attacks against UAV launch sites used by Ukrainian armed forces units in the Sumy and Kharkov regions. Reconnaissance reportedly identified positions associated with the 119th Territorial Defense Brigade near the settlement of Slavorod, where the site was being used to support drone operations in the area. Using Fab 500 aerial bombs, strike aircraft delivered a powerful attack on the identified coordinates. The bombing destroyed the UAV launch site, disrupting the brigade's ability to deploy drones from that sector. In a separate strike, another UAV launch site belonging to the 77th Separate Airmobile Brigade was targeted in the area of Senkove in the Kharkiv region. The position was engaged with a Kh-39 missile, which struck the site and destroyed the launch point, further reducing Ukrainian drone activity along the front line. Objective control footage confirms the destruction of a forward deployment point and a UAV launch site used by the Ukrainian armed forces in the settlement of Krasny Lyman. The positions had reportedly been identified as part of a local staging area supporting drone operations and frontline deployments in the sector. With the target location established, a strike was delivered using a Fab 3000 aerial bomb. The powerful blast destroyed the forward deployment point along with the UAV launch site, disrupting drone activity and damaging Ukrainian operational capabilities in the area. Next footage, servicemen of the Vostok Group of Forces carried out counter-UAV operations in the Zaporozhye region after detecting a group of enemy drones operating in the area. Air surveillance assets identified the incoming UAVs during monitoring of the frontline sector, prompting an immediate response from Russian forces. The drones were intercepted and neutralized, preventing them from conducting reconnaissance or potential strike missions against positions in the region. Later, in the Krasnoarmysk direction, attack UAV teams of the 51st Guards Combined Arms Army, operating as part of the Center Group of Forces, conducted targeted strikes against Ukrainian fortified positions. Reconnaissance had revealed several dugouts used by the armed forces of Ukraine formations to shelter personnel along the defensive line. Next footage, operators of Geran, 2 unmanned aerial vehicles from the Unmanned Systems Forces carried out a strike mission against a HIMARS multiple launch rocket system firing position in the Kharkov region. The launch site was reportedly identified during aerial reconnaissance as a location used by Ukrainian forces to conduct rocket attacks against Russian positions. The Geran 2 drones were directed toward the designated target area. The strike hit the firing position, destroying the HIMARS system and disrupting Ukrainian rocket artillery activity in that area. Next footage, Russian fighters disrupted the rotation of Ukrainian forces in the Krasnoarmeysk direction after reconnaissance assets detected enemy activity in the area. Surveillance drones identified Ukrainian troops' positions occupying strong points positioned along forest belts and inside nearby buildings, locations used to support troop movement and defensive operations. Once the positions were confirmed, UAV operators launched a series of strikes against the identified targets. The attacks caught the Ukrainian units by surprise, with precision drone strikes hitting the strongpoints and leaving little opportunity for the troops to seek shelter, ultimately disrupting the planned rotation of forces in the sector. Last, during offensive operations in the Dobropilya direction, fighters of the 150th Motor Rifle Division conducted strikes against Ukrainian positions and military assets along the front line. Reconnaissance and strike elements identified a number of targets, including equipment, fortified positions, dugouts, and drone control points used by Ukrainian units to coordinate operations in the sector. Artillery crews and strike drone operators were then directed to engage the detected positions. Footage from the battlefield shows fragments of coordinated artillery fire and UAV strikes hitting Ukrainian equipment and defensive structures, resulting in the destruction of several targets and further weakening the defensive network in the area. The 150th Idritsa Berlin Motor Rifle Division, awarded the Order of Kutuzov, continues to carry out offensive actions in the direction, applying sustained pressure on Ukrainian forces while dismantling their positions and operational infrastructure. That's all for today's update. Thanks for watching, and don't miss our upcoming videos.